Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This is an English translation of the MAJLIS of HAZRATH MAULANA QAMAR UZZAMAN Sahab Damat Barakatuhum, which took place on Saturday morning at Baitul Azkar in Wasiabad, Allahabad, UP, India. Saturday, the 22nd of Shawwal, 1444, corresponding with the English date, 13th of May 2023. Hazrat Wala starts off by quoting the ayat of the Quran Majid. وَجَعَلْنَا بَعْضَكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ فِتْنَةً أَتَصْبِرُونَ وَكَانَ رَبُّكَ بَصِيرًا. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that we have made some as a trial and an exam for the others. أَتَصْبِرُونَ وَكَانَ رَبُّكَ بَصِيرًا. Will you be patient? Will you exercise patience? وَكَانَ رَبُّكَ بَصِيرًا. And your Rabb is ever watchful. Now here, this amazing kitab here in front of us, Shaykh Ibn Ata Iskandari, Hazrat Haji Sahab asked Hazrat Tanvi to make the tarjuma of it. Hazrat Haji Sahab understood the importance of this kitab and Hazrat Tanvi then translated it. So, here, the presence of poor people is a ni'mat from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the rich. وَوُجُودُ أَهْلِ الْفَاقَةِ نِعْمَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ عَلَى ذَوِي الْغِنَى. And all of this here is why they have found, the rich have found such people who can carry forward for them into the akhirah, meaning so much of this year, meaning they are in the dunya, they are avenue for them, they are a means for them to take this great rewards in the akhirah. And also, why are they a ni'mat for the rich people, the poor? Because the rich have found such people who can take from them. So the poor person takes from the rich person. In essence is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking from them. But understand well, Wallahu huwal ghaniyyul hamid. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most and completely independent. So if Allah ta'ala did not create the fuqara, then how would the sadaqat then be accepted? And then, who would they then find that could take from them the sadaqat? It is for this reason that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam has mentioned in the hadith, Man tasaddaqa bi sadaqatin min kasbin tayyibin. Whoever gives out alms, charity from pure earnings. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept only, Allah Ta'ala accepts only that which is pure. وَلَا يَقْبَلُ اللَّهُ إِلَّا طَيِّبًا. So the person who spends from the sadaqah which is pure, it is as if he is placing it in the palm of Rahman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who then takes it and nurtures it, increases it, yurabbiha lahu, increases it for him, brings it up for him, just like one of you looks after and brings up his colt or his foal, the young horse, or fasilahu, or the young camel, until such a time, inna al-luqma lata'udu mithla jabali Uhud, until that one morsel then returns to be as great, as big, as weighty as Mount Uhud. It is for this reason that it is from amongst the signs of Qiyamah that a person will not find that person who can accept his sadaqah. Hazrat Haji Imdadullah rahimahullah used to say that express the shukr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have found someone where you can place your sadaqat and your charity. Now Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to make bahas on this. at length And he would even go on to say that that person who outwardly seems to be okay, now should you give him or should you not give him? He's fit, he's well, he may even be on a horse. Rather, in these days, you would say that he has come in his car. But the mere fact that he asks, then it is the haqq for that person then to give him. And that's where you would find the two schools of thought. Hazrat Gangohi rahimahullah was of that opinion that you should not give such people. Whereas Allama Sha'rani used to say that even outwardly, if there's all signs that this person is not deserving, then too, no matter what the circumstances are, you should still then give him, because it is the haqq and the right of that person who asked. And this was also the maslak of Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab. You know, Hazrat Wala speaks about this incident that the Shaykh tells his murid and his disciple that, listen, that first person that comes to you, you give that person. You give that person. Nevertheless, he left, he goes, and the first person there appears to be completely opposite. He says, but no, man, can't be this person. He's okay, he seems to have everything. Nevertheless, he passes by him, but this thought troubles him in his heart and his mind, and he goes over what his Shaykh said, that listen, Hazrat said that I must give this first person. He turns back and he goes on to peep, what is this person actually doing? Outwardly he seemed to be okay and having all the means, but that was not the case, because he found him, how we would say, in the dirt bins, tokri mein, opening up those packets and taking up some thrown or discarded piece of roti or food or something, cleaning it and eating it. So he understood from that, okay, I didn't understand that there, but he understood it well when he seen the reality of it. So we're speaking about spending. Hazrat Wala then after goes on to say that one is sadaqah from wealth. But what about the sadaqah from ulum, ilm and knowledge? So one is the sadaqah of wealth. The other one then is the sadaqah of ulum and knowledge. Okay, so Hazrat Wala here is quoting, and then he says that this is in Bayzawi Sharif, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. And then Hazrat Wala addresses the attendees there, and he says, I want you to take out this ibarat. Look for it. Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to quote this to us. So here, it is written here, in the Tafsir Bayzawi, that there is umum in it. There is umum in it, that it doesn't just necessarily mean that a person must, that it is only infaq, spending that of wealth. However, it can mean other things as well. That from all those things, the ni'mats which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed a person, the ni'mats, whether they are zahira, external or batina. And what supports this is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that inna ilman la yuqalu bihi kakanzin la yunfaq minhu, that knowledge which is not passed on, which is not spoken about, which is not propagated, is actually like a great treasure which is not you do not spend from it. Also here, we carry on and we're reading here from the Tafsir Bayzawi that it is, we said, وَمِمَّا رَزَقَنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ مِنْ أَرْنْوَارِ الْمَعْرِفَةِ يُفِيدُونَ, that they're also passing on from the anwar and the nur of the recognition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yufidun, they are passing on for use and barakat. So the greatest type of sadaqah is actually ilmi sadaqah, where this knowledge that a person has, he doesn't keep it to himself, rather he passes it on to others. Even if it is as much and as simple as a takhti or qaida Baghdadi, alif, ba, ta, something like that, and he is taught it to someone else, that knowledge is the greatest sadaqah. Hazrat Maulana Habibur Rahman asked me on one occasion when he was leaving Allahabad and he came to meet Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Ahmad Sahib, and he said, Hazrat, I'm going now, but when I come the next time, I am going to relate a hadith to you. So Hazrat Wala is saying, Allahu Akbar. The hadith are all in front and this and that, but there was so much importance attached to the hadith. And the darja, the importance, the ahmiyat, the sacredness, or how high or how much of importance they attach to it, that he actually said that, Hazrat, when I come back to you, I am going to relate a hadith to you. So Hazrat Wala is saying there that I always like to keep something and something with me, that if somebody comes, I will hand it over to that person. And it is for this reason Hazrat Wala is saying that whoever's coming with me, whoever's sitting with me, whoever's traveling with me, I always tell them also, keep some and some change with you, that if somebody comes along, we can give and pass on something to them. So here, free of charge, you are finding an avenue of where you can spend your sadaqat, that a person is actually coming to ask you. Hazrat Wala is speaking about Mauli Abdullah's mother, and he would say that her hand was so open and she was so enthusiastic of spending in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These ladies who come to beg and that, sometimes they would come here and we would give them maybe some 20, 30 rupees or this or that, and then they will go on to say, but no, she gives us 300 rupees. Similarly, when it came to the turn of the masajid and other avenues where a person could spend in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she was absolutely generous and she would spend. Sometimes, in the end, when she was not too well as well, she would be lying down. And you have these beggars screaming at the door, give me, dedo, give me, etc. Whatever their wordings were, etc. She would even sit up or move her head or open her eyes, saying that there's a beggar, give them something, give them something. We went to Africa, Hazrat Wala is saying, and in the safar, senior person, in fact he was elder than me in age, he was my murid as well. But okay, so I'm going to say that to you, but let's continue from the kitab so then we can make the rabt of it as well. So we're carrying on here. So also the ibarat here is saying وَمُلَازَمَةُ الْخَمْسِ فِي الْجَمَاعَةِ, and to make sure that you are consistent and always particular about performing your 5 in a congregation, in jama'at. Because a person who is saintly, he wants to spend his time in solitude and being alone, in solitude, carrying out his ibadat, etc. But here, the demand is something else. It is so important that at that time there, he must leave his solitude and he must come out to perform his 5. And also why? لِتَكُونَ مُلَازَمَتُهُ لَهَا سَبَبًا لِتَجْدِيدِ الْأَنْوَارِ. A person has nur, but every time he leaves and he goes and perform his salat, he makes tajdeed of the nur that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him. And it is a means of him increasing in his basirat. Now, since we have spoken about salat, let's just continue and tell you more about the salat. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that the salat in congregation supersedes, or it holds greater merit than individual salat by 25 times. And in another narration, 27 times. So, Hazrat Wala, I was just saying to you now that he went to Africa and his murid there was even elder than him in age. But he was so particular about salat, organizing this and doing that, that okay, now we're traveling. But he was so meticulous about this, and it brought so much of happiness to me that he was so particular about salat. That Maulana, we're going here, we're going there, but by that time there we will reach at 1:30, we will be there so we can get our Zohar Jamaat at this place. That was the ihtimam of salat with Jamaat. And then Hazrat Wala even remarks, Allahu Akbar, what to say? That is the great compassion and the humility of Hazrat Wala, that he says that these people, my murids, etc., but they have even superseded me. So कारहाय आखिरत को अंजाम करने की तौफीक दे Allah Ta'ala हमको. So Allah Ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the hidayat of carrying out the works and the a'mal and our duties of the akhirat. What is going to help us there? You know, Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab used to be in his room, and he would even say that, you know, just this much is enough for me to stay. Just this much is enough for me to stay. And then he would look out of his window and he would say, look at how much Allah has given us. Look at all the sky that I can see. Allahu Akbar. So, sakht, khush, masti, wale Abul Hasan, that how is it that you are jumping about and you seem to be so happy? There's so much of the path that's still left that you need to cover of your destination. You're just seeing a little bit here and a little bit there and you think you've conquered everything. No. Hazrat Wala is also saying that on one occasion in the akhbar, in the newspapers, it came that these members, maybe it could have been of parliament or whatever it was, they started speaking amongst themselves, and this was the conclusion and the crux of it was that before they were all near to one another, but now there's so much of differences amongst them, and the reason for all of this was because they are staying so far from one another, and they all got their big bungalows, their big mansions, etc. So because they are so far from one another, this has actually caused such a type of difference amongst themselves. Now, Hazrat Wala is remarking and saying that even they came to learn about this. Even they came to learn about this. One of these people had come here once, and I started speaking to them, and I said to them that, listen, why don't you tell those people about these topics of ilm, etc.? And he goes on to say that, Hazrat, these people, they know so much of ilm. Yes, amal is something else if they're not practicing about it, but they know all about these things of ilm. So here in the kitab we're reading that if it had to be prescribed for every person to perform in his place of seclusion, in his private chamber, in his apartment, in his house, then the masajid and the sacred houses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would then become desolate. Now Allah ta'ala says about his great masajid, في بيوت أذن الله أن ترفع ويذكر فيها اسمه يسبح له فيها بالغدو والآصال. In houses, meaning the masajid, which Allah Ta'ala commanded that they be exalted. Exalted, meaning honored and respected. وَيُذْكَرَ فِيهَا اسْمُهُ, and that His name, Allah's name, be taken in them. So men who Allah guided, يُسَبِّحُ لَهُ فِيهَا بِالْغُدُوِّ وَالْآصَالِ, glorify Him morning and evening. رجال لا تلهيهم تجارة ولا بيع عن ذكر الله وإقام الصلاة وإيتاء الزكاة يخافون يوما تتقلب فيه القلوب والأبصار. And also another reason why a person should stick to congregational Jamaat Salat is that in it we would find that hearts are united and hearts are strengthened by it. And also in it we would find that we would have the spectacle of seeing Muslimin gathering. For Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mentioned that Yadullahi ala al-jama'ah, the hand of Allah is upon the jama'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's madad and His help is with the congregation, with the group of people. And also because لأن الجماعة إذا اجتمعت انبسطت بركات قلوبهم على من حضرهم. When the gathering then gathers and everyone is together, then the barakat, the blessings of their hearts then spread amongst all those who are present there. وَامْتَدَّتْ أَنْوَارُهُمْ لِمَنْ شَهِدَهُمْ, and the anwar and the nur also spreads amongst all those who are there. And their gathering there is actually like this army, that when they gather, then it is a means of the nusrat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then coming into existence. So the ayat then that the author quotes there, إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص. Verily Allah Ta'ala loves those who fight in His path in rows, in safs, as if they are a solid building. As if they are a solid building. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, this is zamima in the attachment there as well, which we're going to go through. يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ ذَلِكَ أَزْكَى لَهُمْ, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is commanded to tell the mu'mineen that they lower their gaze and they protect their private parts, because this will be purer for them. And we should know this, ये बात जाननी चाहिए कि निगाह अल्लाह की बड़ी नियमत है, that this eyes and the sight, it is a very very great ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ni'mat ilahi की नाशुक्री न करनी चाहिए. Therefore the ni'mat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should not be ungrateful of it. And this also, it is a great trust. Therefore, we should not abuse this type of trust. For Allah Ta'ala is saying, يَعْلَمُ خَائِنَةَ الْأَعْيُنِ وَمَا تُخْفِي الصُّدُورِ. He knows very well about the deception of the eyes and what the hearts hide. أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. Does he not know that Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala is watching? So when a person wants to actually see or look at that which is prohibited for him, then he should think for a moment that Allah is watching. And he should also put in his mind that whenever a person lowers his gaze from that which is prohibited and impermissible, then Allah Ta'ala blesses him with basirat, that insight and that foresight, and gives him the reward of it completely and totally. So in this world here, that person who restricts his eyes, then tomorrow Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless him with a complete spaciousness and the greatest of rewards. Ji. So after saying that there, Hazrat Wala then says, because speaking about looking and guarding of the eyesight, Hazrat Wala then goes on to say that a person once came and then he had his face looking through the window onto the streets. And then Hazrat Wala in his own capacity must have called him and corrected him and explained to him about this year. But what he had to tell me and to tell us in taking the great lesson, that see, this person here came to learn tariq and this path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What will he do? How will he do? He's got his gaze facing that way. Where will he go and how will he go? Hazrat Maulana Shah Wasiullah Sahab, sometimes we used to go out to the town to go to the Hakim or this or that. But he would be so restless because a person is compromised when he leaves his haram and he leaves his home, because that's in the haram, in the home, in the masjid, in the madrasa, a person is protected. Whereas when he goes out, he becomes vulnerable. So he would pace up and down that, listen, Mubin and Qamaru Zama, nahi aaye? What is it? Hazrat, sit down and eat. Have your meals. He would be so restless, he would not have his lunch. That at that time, 10:30 or 11 o'clock, which was his time for his meal, he would not. He would pace up and down, and this was the amount of koshish and effort that he made, all in the name so that we can stay protected. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward him well for all of that he tried to instill in us, that we should how so much look after these organs of ours. Chashmo band, labbo band, gosho band, gar nabini noor haq, gar man bakhand. Barman bakhand. Shut the eyes, zip the lips and plug the ears. Then too, if you cannot see the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then laugh at me, because most definitely by then you should notice, rather witness the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pouring into your heart, because this is so tried and tested that if a person looks after his eyes, his ears and his tongue, he will then enjoy the nur of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم بحرمة سيد النبي الكريم صلى الله